So you may or may not have heard about this, but Xbox is under a ton of fire right now because Xbox Game Pass got an insane price hike. But not only that, there's been changes made to the tiers, the way the system works and things like that, and it's just absolutely causing a very controversial storm online right now. I wanted to talk about this because not only is it a pretty shocking and honestly a big thing, but also a lot of people who play Call of Duty these days are doing it through Game Pass, and that was actually one of the huge things that people were expecting when Microsoft bought Activision. It's Call of Duty on Game Pass. So let's just dive right on into it because there is a lot to talk about. If you're not super familiar with what Xbox Game Pass even is, the best way I can describe it is like the Netflix but for video games type of a thing. Now, a lot of Xbox Game Pass's biggest selling point is the amount of accessibility, so you can play through cloud, you can play on your PC, on your console, things like that. Basically, they're trying to do this whole everything is an Xbox type of branding. Xbox Game Pass includes a ton of games like Ubisoft Plus's catalog, you get EA Play, you have access to cloud gaming at the ultimate tier, you can play online, so if you have a premium purchase game like Call of Duty for instance, you can play without having to subscribe to Xbox Live Gold, which is how it used to be. From a personal standpoint, I've been on Xbox Game Pass for years. I actually started using it pretty much when it came out. I really liked the system and I thought it was such a cool deal at the time. I personally have a PC, so I use PC Game Pass, and while PC Game Pass is largely like untouched with this sort of restructuring that they've done, I did at one point use Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, but I didn't really find myself using my console enough to really want to keep paying for Ultimate, so I just use PC. But seriously, the news today is pretty shocking. I mean, this isn't the first time that Xbox Game Pass did get a price increase. I remember a few years back it was like $16.99, so like what, 17 bucks a month, and then it became 20, which is $3. It's like not too crazy when you think about it in like the long run, and at the end of the day, $20 for a subscription service that gives you tons of video games, access to day one launches, online play, cloud gaming. I mean, it had a lot of benefit to it, so you could sort of justify $20. But 14 months later, Microsoft decided that that wasn't enough, and they increased it from $20 to $30, which is a 50% increase in the US. And if you live outside the US, like for example in the UK or Canada, it's actually a lot more than that. So basically, in total, you're going to be spending about $360 a year on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Now you might be thinking, okay, well then just don't take Ultimate, right? Well, it turns out there's a little bit more fine print than that. So the first tier is Xbox Game Pass Essential. This includes over 50 games and is playable on PC, console, and cloud. This one has unlimited cloud gaming, in-game benefits for things like Riot Games, online console multiplayer, and you can earn up to apparently $25 a year in the store with rewards by playing. However, it's $9.99 a month. Xbox Game Pass Premium is the second tier, and this one gives you over 200 games for PC, console, and cloud, and this is $14.99 a month. You get new Xbox published games, not on day one, within a year of launch. So you don't get day one games anymore if you're paying $14.99 a month. You get unlimited cloud gaming with shorter wait times, in-game benefits, online console multiplayer, and the potential to earn up to $50 a year in the store with the rewards. Now, if you want day one games, you're gonna have to pay $30 a month. You get access to over 400 games, you get Ubisoft Plus Classics and EA Play, unlimited cloud gaming, in-game benefits, online console multiplayer, and the ability to earn up to $100 a year in the store with rewards. However, the new thing that they added is Fortnite Crew, which is sort of kind of like the newest thing that they've done so far with this ultimate tier. And Fortnite Crew, which I didn't know about it before because I don't play Fortnite, but it's basically apparently you get the Fortnite Battle Pass and you get like 1,000 V-Bucks or something every month, and then I think there's some other stuff, but I'm not really too familiar with Fortnite, but I don't really know why you would tack that on and then increase the price, because I don't really think a majority of people were asking for the Fortnite Crew in Xbox Game Pass. But that's not the only thing that's really changed with this restructuring, aside from obviously the crazy price hike of 50%. If you want the Ubisoft Plus Classics, you have to get Game Pass Ultimate. And if you want to play Call of Duty on day one, you have to get the Game Pass Ultimate tier. And I don't even think Game Pass Premium includes Call of Duty anymore at all. Like, I don't even think it's post a year of launch. I think it excludes the Call of Duty titles, which means that you will still have to buy Call of Duty separately and have a subscription to Game Pass to play online. You can't really just have Call of Duty now with just your Game Pass, whatever the tier was before they did this change. Which is crazy because I personally know a lot of people really like the fact that you could get Call of Duty through Game Pass. People were really happy that they could just subscribe, they paid every month, then they also got access to some other games that maybe they wanted to try, but ultimately their main motivation was, hey, Call of Duty games are being added to Game Pass, that's really cool. I don't really know why they made this change. There wasn't really much of an explanation, and they didn't really give anything to explain why they did this. They didn't really tell us what the point of adding Fortnite crew was and then just increasing the price like this. Again, the last price hike was a couple of bucks, not 50%. And the thing is, a lot of people started suddenly canceling their subscriptions to Xbox Game Pass. So much so, in fact, that the subscription website, the place where you go to basically unsubscribe, it crashed completely. And so many people were taking forever to actually have their unsubscription sort of thing processed, which is crazy, which shows you that a lot of people were really angry. That's a huge amount of backlash. I mean, yeah, that's what I expected personally when I saw the news. I was like, there's no way this is going to go over easy. I'm sure a lot of people are going to start unsubscribing because if you were on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you were paying $20 a month, which like I said earlier is a pretty reasonable thing for a subscription like this, but $30 a month, I mean, there's a lot of 20s and 30s that we're paying these days with all these subscriptions. I'm sure for a lot of people, if it's not that worth it, $10 extra is not exactly something you want to be wasting on something you don't really care about. And ultimately, for a lot of people, maybe you don't even care about Fortnite. Like, why would that justify a price hike to you? It wouldn't, obviously. And then at some point, if all the games you're really playing are a couple of games here and there, it might just be cheaper in the long run to buy those games separately, wait for sales, get some gift cards, then to pay $360 a year for some stuff that you might not even really use much. And the thing is, this isn't the only thing upsetting people with Xbox lately. So one of the things that recently happened was all of these sort of Xbox games that used to be considered exclusives have gone multi-platform. Now, it's not a bad thing to give more people access to games, but it makes the point of owning an Xbox pretty slim, because now you could just have a PlayStation, get access to PlayStation exclusives, and now all those Xbox games you wanted. Or you could just buy a PC, things like that. Also, recently, Costco apparently just decided to stop selling any stock of Xbox consoles because they decided it was a business decision, and basically what that means is they're not selling the consoles. On top of that, the actual consoles themselves got a second price increase recently, so now apparently the consoles are an appreciating asset and they're not, gonna go on sale like they used to. I remember there was a point in time when you would buy a console and then a few years later it would not be the same price, but anyways, apparently we're going the opposite direction now. And then of course, this sort of price hike has really solidified for people that there's something kind of going on with Xbox's shift from whatever it used to be to whatever it's trying to be now. To me, it looks like Xbox is exiting the console market and is trying to be more of a game distributor, game publisher, and a subscription service. But is it really worth $30 to get Game Pass Ultimate, especially if you're on PC or you're on PlayStation and you maybe have an Xbox as well, or you don't really care about some of those games? Because a lot of those games on there, for instance, I've already played. They've been given away for free through Epic Games, things like that. So personally, I used to think that Xbox Game Pass was one of the best values in the market for what it offered, but now I'm honestly not so sure Game Pass Ultimate is the best value anymore. I don't really think it is, and I don't think $30 makes sense for it. I thought $20 was okay, it was a reasonable price, but $30 certainly isn't, especially because the biggest change we have is Fortnite crew. That's the biggest change, and a couple of extra games, which is, yeah, okay, it's expected. You're gonna add games to a catalog of games. Games come and go, so some of those games aren't even gonna stay there. So I think honestly it's not really the best value anymore. Personally, I'm finding that it doesn't really have much of an advantage over if you have a PlayStation Plus. If you have a PC, I think it's still advantageous only in that perspective, because personally I didn't want to buy some of those games, so whatever, it's like $16 a month. But if you're not on PC and you don't really play that many games, it's like one game at this point, you might as well just buy Call of Duty and then have Game Pass, I think it's like Core or something, like the $10 a month one just for the online access. But yeah, I mean, $360 a year for some people is not something they're willing to spend on video games, especially if they're not playing like 90% of the catalog. But anyways, there's a lot of news coming from Microsoft lately. This is a pretty shocking piece of news that we got today. Not the greatest news of all time, of course, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be super upset about it, as expected. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if you still think Xbox Game Pass is worth it, or if you too are shocked if you actually canceled it or not. Do let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications set to all so you don't miss out on another upload, and that's all for today, folks.